Look, I didn't want to start this week on a negative note, but we can't get around the fact that a bunch of NXT talent just suddenly got released out of nowhere at the start of the week or last week, whenever it was, and it's just a bit of a downer. So if you didn't know, Breezango, that's Fandango and Tyler Breeze, and Everrise, along with loads of the 205 Live roster as well, just suddenly got released. They all just got let go, and it's a bit of a sad thing, because you know what? Everrise ruled, Breeze ruled, Fandango ruled, all the 205 Live guys, they ruled as well, and they could have been given a chance to really become something special, which was rumoured, as again, throughout the week last week, that there was going to be a big Cruiserweight division push in the future. Apparently they were not in line for said push, but it's just, a bit annoying. But hopefully all of those guys land on their feet in the near future, but as we always know in the land of WWE, the show does go on, and NXT went on this week, and if you like shocks, if you like sudden twists that come absolutely out of nowhere like an RKO, my god, oh howdy, did this show have something for you. We started this week how I love wrestling shows to kick off, and that is with a match. No stupid talking down the mic like, oh, I want a title match and I'm going to take it. None of that crap. We had a number one contenders triple threat for the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships. It was Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon taking on Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez, taking on Io Shirai and Zoe Stark. It all gets a big old up because this match, it just had all the good stuff. Like you had Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon just pulling off all these brilliant tag team maneuvers, like running knees to the face, all these great things together, and then you had Io Shirai and Zoe Stark just individually being explosive and drop kicking and flying around the place with clotheslines. Oh, that was good. And then on top of that, you had Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez with their little simmering tension drama thing that's been going on for the last couple of weeks, couple of months it feels like. So you had all that as well. It was a recipe for greatness. And there was one point in the match where everyone just decided to pretend they were birds and just try flying through the sky. You had Io Shirai doing a moonsault onto the outside, and then Shotzi Blackheart dived to the outside, and then Ember Moon dived to the outside, and then Zoe Stark, guess what she did? You will never believe it. She dived to the outside, and then it happened. I want it. Because I've spent years saying that DQ finishes are the enemy. We don't like these screwy finishes, but on this picture-in-picture break, I found out that DQs can actually lead to a very good thing. It can lead to cookies and ice cream. Yep, you heard it here first. It might have been Dairy Queen, but it still counts as a DQ. It's a DQ we like, and you know what I want from this DQ? I want it. I want it. I want it. And surprise, surprise, we came back from the break and Raquel Gonzalez was cleaning house. And that was pretty much the running theme throughout this match. Everyone started to gang up on Gonzalez. She fought back. Then they all ganged up on her again. And then she fought back. It was just an ever-going thing. And then after getting in the way of like an avalanche powerbomb suplex thing, Raquel Gonzalez dived onto Dakota Kai as Io Shirai was coming down for a moonsault. So she protected her. She took the bullet. It was just dramatic. But after a big old thing where everyone just started hitting all the finishers on each other, it was just a massive exchange of finishers. Dakota Kai finally got moonsaulted by Io Shirai, so that means, because Io Shirai obviously picked up the win after this, Io Shirai and Zoe Stark, they're going to have their match against the way for the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships at the Great American Bash, which is in precisely 7 days' time. Look, it was a great match. It did what it needs to do for this division. It makes the belts feel like something worth fighting for. I like it. I've already given it an up. It's just going to keep that up because it was good. Karrion Kross showed up backstage, and then he got tackled out of nowhere by Johnny Gargano because brawls will just always be a thing on NXT. Doesn't matter if Samoa Joe's there, brawls will just keep happening. We then found out that Beth Phoenix was taking a well-deserved break this week because, my goodness, does she hold down the fort when it comes to that commentary team. But on the back of this, there was another announcement. It was a big one. It's one that's worthy of its own up. The NXT Breakout Tournament is going to return, and we really need it to be honest. Because just looking at the glut of talent that came out in the last tournament that they had, where they had Bronson Reed, Cameron Grimes, Isaiah Swerve Scott, Dexter Lumis, Angel Garza, all these people that got brought into the NXT system on the back of this tournament, it just set the stage, you could say, set the foundation for where we're at now with this current crop of NXT talents that are climbing up the ladder. We need that again. We need an influx of new talent, and while you're at it, why not give us a women's version of the Breakout Tournament as well? Put them all out there. I need some more tournaments. On the back of this, Bronson Reed was being interviewed and he was like, yeah, I was in that breakout tournament, I was really good in it. And Isaiah Swerve Scott showed up, he was like, yeah, I was in it too, but how out of all the people who were in this tournament are you the one now holding a belt? And he was a bit miffed by this, he was like, well, I'm really good. And then Top Dollar was like, well, if you're really good, you can put that belt on the line against Scott. And he just goaded him into a match against Isaiah Swerve Scott. Later in the night, it's happening. That match just came out of nowhere. But a very angry Karrion Kross then stormed down to the ring. He got inside that squared circle, took the mic and was like, Johnny, I attacked you from behind last week. You did it this week, but I'm annoyed this week for reasons. And to be honest, I'm just going to get it out of the way very early. This whole thing, it got it down from me, but I'll explain why. Because Johnny then eventually came out. He was like, oh, well, you think I'm scared of you? I'm Johnny Wrestling. I'm more talented than you. I'm more smart than you. And here's Austin Theory, who's going to attack you. This then led to a big 2-on-1 attack from Johnny, but then they just both got battered by Karrion Kross. And then Samoa Joe came down with all his security, broke everyone up, and then Johnny super kicked Karrion Kross in the face. And he was all just a bit meh. Because I don't like this whole talented thing that just keeps getting thrown out, like, oh, everyone's saying they're more talented than Karrion Kross. He's a pretty talented dude. Have you seen the way he throws people all around the ring? Yeah, he's not quite an Adam Cole or a Johnny Gargano, but he's still pretty damn good. And on top of this, it was just more brawling chaos. And I know Samoa Joe was trying his best to keep everything under wraps, and Karrion Kross was like, oh, you're doing a really good job, Joe. But it just felt like putting a spotlight under the real issues with NXT right now. The main event scene, nobody really cares about. Everyone was just chanting Joe after this. They were like, Joe, Joe, Joe. I was like, he's not even in the match, and you care more about Joe. But it's not Joe's fault, it's the people's fault who were trying to build these two as just absolute forces that are going to collide. Johnny is meant to be the babyface here, and he was doing like a 2-on-1 attack. It just didn't make sense, and it made less sense as the night went on. Then the battery came back, and this time it was on 60%. It is taking its time to charge that battery. Johnny Gargano and Austin Theory were then seen backstage. They got into a car and apparently drove off. Oh, did they? Yeah. Diamond Mines Roderick Strong then showed up. He was going to have his first match for the Crew, the new faction that showed up last week and battered Kushida. He was up against Asher Hale. And, well, something happened that just makes this my favorite thing of the week. Because we did enter the squash zone, and I know this is not a piece of fruit, it's a pepper. I had to do what I had to do. But Roderick Strong was focusing on grappling this time round. I think that's the new thing with the Diamond Mine. They're just going to ragdoll people and just keep them glued to the mat. He pulled out like a spinning elbow at one point as well, like a flying knee. Well, obviously the flying knee is just his thing that he does, but he pulled it out. It was very effective. And Asher Hale, I don't think he got a lot in. Not a lot of offense. In the end, after squeezing, can't squeeze too hard, the pepper will explode, but he squeezed the life out of Hale, got him into a submission in the end, did like an underhook of one arm, and then transitioned into an armbar for the win. Roderick Strong and the Diamond Mine are off to winning ways, a good start. And it was a tangy squash. I give it a tangy. So it was like a tangy up squash. It's like not for everyone. Some people like it. I don't think Asher Hale did, but it was tangy. I'm not going to bite this. I think it's off. The key takeaway here, though, is that the Diamond Mine is open and ready for business. I dig it, I like it. And Hideki Suzuki, his name was changed to Hachiman, just for reasons. We had a Cameron Grimes match after this, and he was taking on Ari Sterling after he'd been very disrespectful to Ted DiBiase the week before. And it's just gonna get a big up, because Cameron Grimes is the greatest thing that's ever come along in NXT. Don't at me. Honestly though, Cameron Grimes is just over. He is. He's just so damn over. Everyone was shouting to the moon. They were singing along to his music. It just made you feel good inside. I thought Sterling looked really good here as well. He did like a springboard moonsault to the outside, a running corkscrew senton at one point onto Cameron Grimes. It was pretty impressive stuff. But in the end, he was trying to be a bit too impressive, went for a shooting star, missed it, and got caved the hell in by Cameron Grimes for the win. But before he had a chance to really celebrate, LA Knight, just being the wanker that he is, he walked in with his $1 million championship and said, "You, my friend, you're a loser, even though you just won." Yeah. But Cameron Grimes, determined to carry on the $1 million legacy, just said to LA Knight, "Right, me and you, let's have a match next week for the belt. What do you say?" LA Knight said no. Yeah, he just didn't really fancy it, but he had a change of heart. He thought, you know what? I could really use somebody to help me around the place, help me detail my car, all the rest of the good stuff. So if you lose, Cameron Grimes, if I give you this match next week, you gotta be my butler. So that in my eyes is a win-win. Because we either get Cameron Grimes winning the $1 million championship, or we get Cameron Grimes being a butler and having the butler skits with LA Knight. I'm an idiot, and this idiot likes that kind of stuff, so I'm excited. We jump to backstage, and Io Shirai and Zoe Stark are having a little interview about the fact that they won the match at the start of the night. They're going to get the big shot at the Great American Bash, and the Wave were like, well, you're not going to beat us because you're not really a team, you were just thrown together. Candice LeRae then told Zoe Stark to watch her back because she knows that Io Shirai, not a very good loser, and they're obviously going to lose because the Wave full of absolute crap and they're just so arrogant. They're like, oh, you better watch out. And Io was just like, no, it's not going to happen. We're going to whoop your ass. That's going to be a thing. Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole came face to face. They collided once again, and it's getting it down. I'm sorry. Because Kyle O'Reilly came down to the ring and he was like, his entire career has been based around the fact that he just wants to challenge himself against the best people imaginable. That's why he wants the match against Adam Cole at the Great American Bash. And straight away I was like, well, no, I thought you just hated each other because you were friends turned enemies, so it was confusing straight away. He then called out Adam Cole, who came to the ring, but before he could, Samoa Joe came out with loads of security and he said, I just want to make sure that you two don't start fighting. And my mind immediately thought, why didn't you do that earlier with Karrion Kross? What is going on? Adam Cole then said that Kyle O'Reilly is obsessed with him, even though Adam Cole's been the one just sneak attacking and just getting at Kyle O'Reilly at every given opportunity, so that was a bit strange. And then Cole said the only reason that Kyle O'Reilly has had any success in the business of wrestling is because of him, and even Kyle's wife knows that, and that was meant to be the big like, whoa moment, and Kyle got really angry, and it just didn't land. I mean, I did like the fact that Samoa Joe channeled his inner Dana White and got in between the two and was like, no, not yet, we're not going to fight. But that still didn't stop them fighting because Kyle O'Reilly hooked in a heel hook, and then Joe looked down at Adam Cole just like, I'm not going to help you, but then he left, he got security, they did help. It was all just a bit muddled, and I felt like Joe was the MVP of the segment again, even though Joe isn't involved in the feud. What is going on with this show? Look, the match itself will probably be really, really good again, just like the last one was, because these two are very good, just technical wrestlers, very good at what they do. But I just don't care anymore. The amdram, the contrived tension, all this stuff is just not for me. I feel like we've taken a few backward steps. This should have happened before the whole unsanctioned match thing that happened at TakeOver. It just feels muddled and thrown together. I shouldn't feel this way about an Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly match. We then have mixed tag team action, and it was Jake Atlas and Mercedes Martinez taking on the team of Xia Li and Boa from Tiansha, with Mei Ying sat on a throne watching on. Look, the match itself isn't an absolute bona fide classic that you're going to remember for years gone by, but it was good at what it had to do. It had just Xia Li kicking everyone in the face, Jake Atlas being an absolute gymnastic lunatic doing incredible flying arm drags, and Mercedes Martinez suplexing people off top ropes, and Boa was just happy to be there. But though the match itself was quite exciting in its own way, and even Mei Ying popping up midway through it just to distract everybody, because that's just what people do, they get distracted in WWE, that didn't even detract from the whole action. The thing that overshadowed everything was the fact that Mercedes Martinez got knocked out, like seemed to be legit knocked out. Because Mercedes Martinez just got caught in the face by a spinning heel kick, and it was all really uncomfortable. She went stiff, hit the floor, like her shoulders came up, and they were just still counting the 3 count. It was all a bit horrible, and the ref had to call it off, understandably. I'm glad she did. Xia Li and Boa now look like genuine threats, I guess. That's a silver lining out of it, but you just want to make sure Martinez is fine. I hope she gets well soon, because nobody likes to see this. It's just, it's not nice. Toothless Timmy and Old Man Ciampa had a face-to-face with the NXT Tag Team Champions MSK. Shortly after this, everybody brought the chairs into the ring. They all sat down. It was rather civil for about 2 minutes, so the whole thing in itself is gonna get an up. And I love the fire that Tommaso Ciampa came into this whole thing with. He was like, me, I elevate titles. It's just what I do. And Toothless Timmy, he's hungry for a belt. Just look at those teeth. Oh. And the crowd were absolutely behind Ciampa and Thatcher. They want to see their boys get some gold. And MSK, well, I don't know, they seemed a little bit flustered. They seemed like they just knew that everyone was against them here. They were genuinely being just pictured here and positioned as underdogs, which is all a bit strange when you're the guys holding the belts. Nash Carter, clearly sensing that he had to make a statement, then slapped Tommaso Ciampa in the face, but instead of an all-out brawl, thank goodness they ceased by the end of this night. Instead of the brawl, Tommaso Ciampa just very quietly, very intensely, got in Nash Carter's face and said, we're going to take your pride, we're going to take your belts, we're going to take your homes. He didn't say the last bit, but he said, we're going to take all those at the Great American Bash. And you know what? I believe him. Said Great American Bash was then being hyped up by William Regal backstage, and then Saray just walked into frame and said, you know what, I really fancy a match against someone like Tony Storm, so could we do that? And Riga was like, yeah, I'll think about that. And it was the most polite request for a match I think I've ever seen. I loved it. Karrion Kross was then backstage. He did not want to answer any questions about Johnny Gargano. He went to get in his car, and what do you know? Johnny attacked him, and then he got booed. And then Karrion Kross just sneak attacked Johnny again, because Johnny got into the camera and he was like, oh, well, yeah, look at me, Karrion Kross, I'm the best. He got choked out. I'll just freeze for a second because we got to bring a Gargano meter up there. That gets an 85% on the Gargano meter because it made me laugh. You got what you deserved there, Johnny. You got what you deserved. But then after this, he proceeded to batter Johnny even more. He then forearmed Austin Theory in the back of the head, and then the crowd booed Karrion Kross. So they were booing Johnny, they were booing Karrion. Who do we like here? But none of that matters. Let's not get hung up in it because we had a titanic main event between Bronson Reed and Isaiah Swerve Scott for the North American Championship. And my boy, howdy golly gosh, this is not just getting an up, it's getting a yellow highlighter of the week up solely for the ending, to be honest, but we'll get there. But I like the psychology of this match very early on because Swerve was trying his best just to find a way to outmaneuver Bronson Reed and take him off his feet, which, if you've seen Bronson Reed, that is not an easy feat. But leaning into his strengths, Bronson Reed dominated from the get-go, really. He just started squashing him, he sat on him, he took Isaiah Swerve Scott out of the air like a fly, he just swatted him. But during the commercial break, Isaiah Swerve Scott, out of nowhere, managed to wrestle back some of the momentum, some of the control in the match, and it was looking like he was in the driver's seat. Oh yeah, and there was one moment where Isaiah Swerve Scott just did like a rope-assisted German suplex to Bronson Reed. The size difference, everything about it, it was mesmerizing. But then suddenly Bronson Reed wrestled back the control of the match. He did a senton, he splatted Scott straight onto the floor, and he was going up to the top for that tsunami suplex, but you just knew it was going to happen. Hit Row got involved. Because when the referee got distracted, Ashanti Theodonis jumped up to the top rope, he nudged Reed down to the floor, and I was like, oh, here we go, here come the shenanigans. But no, that was not where things were going, because Top Dollar went to absolutely steamroll Bronson Reed, and he missed. He completely missed. He went straight through the barricade, and I think that barricade may need to go to the hospital. After this, Adonis soon found himself in the exact same position. He got thrown straight after Top Dollar by Reed, but then as he was going to get back in the ring, he got kicked on the back of the head by Isaiah Swerve Scott, and 450 splashed. We've got a new North American champion. I know, Swerve. This makes all the sense in the world if you've been listening to the grapevine. You've heard that Bronson Reed has been pretty much on the cusp of joining the main roster for a few weeks now, so dropping the belt to somebody like Swerve, who's got all this momentum behind him with this brand new sparkling faction, it's just good stuff. It's a passing of the torch moment. And it just got me super excited for the Great American Bash, which is literally next week. How do these specials and pay-per-views just keep like sneaking up on me? They keep popping up out of nowhere. It's great stuff. This entire show gets an up, obviously. There's a few little downs sprinkled in there, left, right, and center, but I'm sure Great American Bash will deliver, just like I've delivered this ups and downs to you. So let me know what you think of this week's NXT in the comment section right down below. If you agree with the ups, if you think the downs were too harsh, well, just throw a stone at me. I'll head it back. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at gmorgan04. Follow everyone here at WhatCulture at WhatCulture WWE, and like this video, share the video, and subscribe to all things WhatCulture Wrestling by just clicking on buttons. As always, the most important thing is to enjoy your week, and I will see you in 7 days' time as we bash some great Americans. Is that the... No.